How's it going, everybody? Marvel the Cross 316 back with another comic book flashback, and we are now looking at the Fantastic Four issue number 3. This issue came out in March of 1962, and as you can see on the cover, we have the first appearance of Fantastic Four's costumes, the original costumes that they wore for a very long time, as well as the Fantastic car. So it wasn't until this issue that the Fantastic Four members received their original costumes. And so this issue is split up into 5 chapters, but the chapters are very short, and I'll go through each one very shortly in this quick review. So I'm glad that you're here. Go ahead, give this video a big ol' like, subscribe if you have not, and let's go ahead and get started. As always, this issue is written by Stan Lee and drawn by Jack Kirby. So the main villain for this issue is none other than this guy right here. He looks like a magician, but his name is Miracle Man. And I believe this is his first appearance as well. I could be wrong, but I believe this might be his first appearance. So Miracle Man, he's performing everything in front of the people. He's, like I said, a magician in a way. And he calls out the Fantastic Four. He says the Fantastic Four are out in the crowd, and of course they are. They're looking at everything that this guy can do. So he calls out Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, Sue Storms, the Invisible Girl, Ben Grimm, who is the Thing, and then Johnny Storm, who is the Human Torch. And so the Thing, as we see in the pages right here, he has had enough of this guy showboating his skills. This guy can do things that are unbelievable, like he could change to a giant, he can make his body turn to mist or gas and cause lightning to come out of his hands. Crazy stuff. The Thing has had enough. He calls the Thing up on stage and he tells the Thing that he needs to just karate chop this big log. And the Thing's like, well, no problem. And that's exactly what he does, but it takes some inertia. It takes some breath out of him. I mean, it takes a little bit of effort to do it. But we see right here that Mr. Miracle, he can slice this log with one finger. And the Thing's like, what in the world? And the Thing is trying to see through this guy. It's like, this cannot be true. He's like, I'm going to give you my best shot. So he tries to punch him, and it doesn't really work. And the Thing has to have the rest of the group to prevent him from tackling this guy, because remember, the Thing does not have any patience. He needs to go to anger management, to be honest, as we've seen in the last 2 issues. Then we see the Fantastic car here, and they're going to their secret headquarters. We're going to see the secret headquarters for the first time, and while they're on their way, Reed Richards is thinking, and Sue Storm's like, what are you thinking about? And he said, well, I'm thinking about how this guy could be one of the biggest criminals that we could ever face if he turns to crime. And that is prophetic words, as you see right here, that Mr. Miracle is going to use his powers in a way to control the world. That's what he wants. He wants to conquer the world. Just like any supervillain, they want to conquer the world. He's going to do it by using this wooden sculpture, which is in the shape of a monster, and he wants to enslave humanity. So there you have it right there, folks. So the Fantastic Four, they come back to their secret headquarters. It is the famous building that if you're familiar with the Fantastic Four, that's where their headquarters are going to be. So for this issue, this is the first time you're going to see that. Here's a little future reference. I'm not going to go through all that, but again, very detailed artwork by Jack Kirby here. So let's go ahead and get started. We have chapter 2 coming up shortly here. So here we go. The monster lives. So Mr. Miracle is going to cause this monster to come alive. How is he going to do that? Well, let's go ahead and find out. We see Johnny Storms. Remember, Johnny Storms at this point, he's a teenager. He's probably like 15, 16 years old, maybe even younger than that. He's wanting to watch TV, and everybody's at their location. And lo and behold, we have Sue Storms come out of the closet, or she's coming out, into the room where everybody else is, and she's dressed up in this peculiar, very similar looking, familiar looking costume here, and that is the original Fantastic Four original Fantastic Four uniform. There, I got it out. And she said everybody is going to have a costume. She's the one that has made the costumes. So if you didn't know how they got their costumes, it was Sue Storms that made the costumes. And the Thing, of course, being his grumpy self, does not want a costume. But we see right here that he's going to put on a costume, nothing less. Because everybody else is suiting up, he needs to fit in as well. But then Johnny Storm sees on the screen, the TV screen, that Mr. Miracle is at the premiere. And it looks like he's not up to any good. And with a gesture, as we saw in the earlier panels, Mr. Miracle is going to change this monster, and he's going to cause this monster to come alive. And that's exactly what he does. That's why he's considered Mr. Miracle. He can do things that are impossible. So this monster comes alive, and we see right here the police are going to try to take down this monster, but there's no way to take down this huge monster. It's like a Godzilla. And so Johnny Storms quickly turns off the TV. The Fantastic Four suit up. They're going to go into action, and they alert the commissioner. And so we see right here that the Fantastic Four are going to try to stop Mr. Miracle and the monster. Fantastic Four, they decide to split up, see if they can take on the monster head on at different sides. We see right here, we start out with Mr. Fantastic. He's going to use his elastic body to try to trap the monster, and he does. He's pretty good at doing that, but Mr. Miracle is right beside the monster. He throws a brick and hits Mr. Fantastic, and so Mr. Fantastic goes down for the count. And the commissioner is pretty upset that Mr. Fantastic allowed the monster to get away. Now we catch up with Johnny Storms. Don't know why he's particularly riding in this Fantastic car when he can fly. But nothing less, we see right here that Human Torch, he jumps out of the Fantastic car, and he's doing what he can do best, try to distract the monster. We go to chapter 3 here. And Sue Storms and the Thing catches up with Johnny Storms here as that he's taking on the monster. The Thing, he's had enough with this costume. He doesn't look right with his helmet. As you can see in the earlier issues, the Thing actually wore a helmet in this issue. I don't know if he wears one in the next. We'll have to find out. But he tears open his shirt. He's had enough. He's like, I got to get comfortable if I'm going to go into action. And Johnny Storms, he actually defeats the monster by putting the monster on fire. So that's how he defeats this raging monster, and the monster just literally goes up in flames, and there's nothing left of the monster because it was just made of wood and plaster, as we see right here from what Johnny Storm says. So they were successful in taking down this monster, but from below we see Mr. Miracle. He uses this, looks like a chemical foam gun or a fire extinguisher, and it douses Human Torch's flames. So Human Torch goes plummeting down right on the ground next to the Thing. So the Thing tries to tackle Mr. Miracle, but then the ground right beneath the Thing crumbles. My goodness, how could that be? So we can see right here just some of the powers that Mr. Miracle can do. It's things that just are impossible. He's making the Fantastic Four look like weaklings. So the only member of the Fantastic Four we have left is Sue Storm, which is the Invisible Girl. She hops up on this automatic tank that Mr. Miracle is riding. So we go to chapter 4, and Johnny Storm is saying, how could you let her go by herself? But of course Reed Richards has a plan, and he says whenever she's in trouble, she'll alert the rest of the members. And of course we see the Thing, he gets a little bit of a flashback to how they received their powers in issue number 1. And we see right here just how the Thing hates, he despises who he is right now. He wants to be Ben Grimm. He wants to be a human again. He doesn't like being a rock monster. And he says right here that he wishes that Sue Storm would look at him like she does at Reed Richards. And of course, Johnny Storm says that he couldn't get her if he looked like Rock Hudson. And this is where they get in a fight with Human Torch and the Thing get in a fight. And the Human Torch blasts off. He said, "I've had enough." And so Johnny Storms goes to town to blow off some steam. Catch up with the Invisible Girl here, and she's right beside Mr. Miracle, but the dog senses that a presence is nearby, so the dog starts barking. I don't know where this dog came from. And so we see right here that Invisible Girl is caught, and then Mr. Miracle puts her in a trance. And he tells Invisible Girl to alert the rest of the Fantastic Four so that he can defeat them. So the Fantastic Four get in their plane. We see right here that they're going to get in this little helicopter. That's the first time we've seen that. Catch up with Johnny Storm. He's with his friends. It looks like he's at a cafe of some sort, soda fountain. And then one of his friends says, "Look!" And of course, Johnny Storm sees the signal, the Fantastic Four signal, so he changes to the Human Torch. So here we go, Chapter 5. This is a showdown right here, the final challenge. Mr. Fantastic and the rest of the Fantastic Four against Mr. Miracle. So how are they going to defeat Mr. Miracle? Well, we see right here that he can change this key to a machine gun. And he starts shooting at Mr. Fantastic. Mr. Fantastic dodges out of the way, and the Human Torch gets in the way. Remember, not the Human Torch, excuse me, it was the Thing, and the Thing's rock hard body, just bullets pop right off. And so he saved Mr. Fantastic's life here, and Mr. Miracle tries to get away, and this is the coolest part here. Mr. Fantastic and the Thing and the Human Torch get in this antique car, and they're both riding. And then this is the funny part. So Mr. Fantastic has to use his own body as a wheel. That's pretty funny right there. But the Human Torch, he gets off the car and he goes supernova, and it blinds the Mr. Miracle here. And Sue Storm is still in her trance. Thing finally gets his hands on Mr. Miracle, and Mr. Fantastic gets in the way because with one punch he could have killed Mr. Miracle. And then Mr. Fantastic tells Mr. Miracle to get Sue Storm out of her trance, and he does. And Mr. Fantastic reveals that Mr. Miracle didn't really have any real powers. He's a master illusionist. That's what we see. He's a master hypnotist. And so everything that they saw on stage earlier was just an illusion. He didn't really have any superpowers. And because of Human Torch's supernova, all the blinding light, somehow or another, Mr. Miracle lost his ability to hypnotize people and cause illusions. But we see right here that the Human Torch has had enough with the Thing, and so the Human Torch has quit the team in issue number 3. At the end of this issue, he has quit the team, and we end off in a cliff note, or not a cliff note, a cliffhanger. And so what are we going to do next? The Human Torch is off on his own, and the biggest fear that the 3 members have, so what are they going to do if the Human Torch turns evil? Well, we'll have to find out next issue, so don't go away, because next time we're going to look at a spectacular issue as the Fantastic Four take on a menace that, as we see right here, they were demanded to bring back. So don't go away. Tune in next time to another Fantastic Four comic book flashback. And I'll see y'all next time.